Hello, and welcome to Climate Fix Podcast. Here we dive into evidence-based solutions to climate change and various other pressing environmental issues. This podcast is created by Americans for Nuclear Energy, a pro-nuclear environmental organization. We take no money from industry or special interest groups. All donations are from individuals like you, interested in a grassroots scientific movement to solve the world's most pressing scientific problem, global climate change. We hope you approach these ideas with humanism and an open mind. Our mission statement is as follows. Nuclear energy is safe, cheap, plentiful, clean, and efficient. It has the capability to stop and reverse climate change while addressing the ever-growing demand for electricity globally. We strive to educate American citizens about this technology and to dispel misconceptions with facts. We firmly believe that both human civilization and industrialism can easily coexist with a healthy environment. Join us in helping to plan a prescription for a feverish planet, or as we like to say, a climate fix.
This is your host, Phil Ord.
And this is your co-host, Colby Kirk.
In this episode of Climate Fix Podcast, we have a conversation with DJ LeClaire, also known as the Rad Guy, on TikTok and other social media sites. He has almost 40,000 followers and has racked up hundreds of thousands of likes and views, providing quality science education on nuclear power and radiation. DJ talks about his journey into nuclear science communication on TikTok and other platforms, some of his most successful pieces of content, the people he reaches and interacts with online, the state of nuclear literacy among the public, the dilemma of misinformation and how to combat it, public reception and acceptance of factual nuclear information, limitations to social media, and advice for other science influencers.
DJ LeClaire is a nuclear specialist turned nuclear influencer. He has been working in the field of radiation safety and nuclear energy for his entire working career. Starting out as a nuclear operator in the Navy, doing reactor plant chemistry and radiation work, he has since moved up to a state-level job as a nuclear safety specialist, focusing on nuclear plant emergency preparedness.
After earning a bachelor's in nuclear engineering technology from Excelsior College, he advanced his studies to a master's in health physics with a focus in radiochemistry from Illinois Institute of Technology. DJ's passion for nuclear science and desire to be a voice of reason to concerned citizens has led him to be a content creator many follow today.
Many of the formal nuclear institutions have a presence on Twitter and Facebook, but remain absent from TikTok. DJ is providing a much-needed voice on this platform, which is tremendously popular among the incoming generation of scientists, engineers, and environmentalists.
The nuclear power sector is in dire need of good PR and factual information. DJ is helping a lot in this endeavor and getting the word out there that nuclear power is interesting and worthwhile, and does not have to be stigmatized. It will be great to hear about his insight into effective science communication in today's multimedia-saturated environment.
DJ's cross-platform media brand of The Rad Guy is helping to get people excited about nuclear power and nuclear science, while challenging cultural myths that seem so pervasive. Nuclear power will be instrumental in dialing down emissions, and we need as much social acceptance and support for it as possible, which comes from educational, factual, and engaging content that is accessible to as many people as we can reach. With the incoming generation being more informed and knowledgeable, the future will be empowered to facilitate a massive nuclear power deployment, making the world a better place.
Let's get to it. Here's our conversation with DJ.
DJ, the Rad Guy, thanks for coming on as a featured guest this time.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be a guest this time around instead of just a one of the co-hosts.
Right. To get started, tell us a little bit about your journey that led you into nuclear communication using TikTok as a platform.
Yeah. Oh man. It's certainly been a journey. How long do y'all have to to talk about this? 'Cause I mean, there was a lot that really led me to finally get on TikTok itself. But a lot of people know me. I've been on Facebook for a long time. I've had Facebook page such as Pragmatic Environmentalist. So I've been, in the trenches on Facebook comment sections and forums and stuff for a long time. And I knew at some point I would want to start doing videos, because I feel like there just wasn't enough people out there doing videos on nuclear power. And I think one real big thing that got me going on TikTok was my desire to be that voice of nuclear power TikTok, because it didn't exist. I didn't really see any creators really talking about nuclear power. And at the same time, I didn't see any creators talking bad about nuclear power. So I saw a perfect opportunity that if I could get on TikTok, I could be kind of that first mover, and I can basically get ahead of the game and start making TikToks. I should say Isabel was on there, Isodope. I can't say I'm the first one, but I did see there was a big void, and that all those anti-nuclear organizations that you do see on Facebook, you do see in some other places like Twitter, they're pretty much not present at all on TikTok. So we're ahead of the game, and I figured, you know what, this is the time I need to get in there. I need to throw my hat into the ring. So yeah, that's really what got me into specifically TikTok. And then from there, I mean, when you make a TikTok video, you get the free video out of it, basically, that you can cross post onto other platforms. So I'm pretty much on any platform that you can think of. Facebook, Twitter. I've been getting a little more involved on, which is nice. And I am also on YouTube. Some people just know me from YouTube, even though my following on there is maybe it's less than 300,
yeah,
probably.
Still something, though. So would you say you're one of the leading pro-nuclear educators on TikTok?
So I cannot actually claim that as my. Yeah, I think a lot of people do think, they're like, oh, you're like. I think first off, I think people thought that Isabel had like this really, really huge following, and I think she started out putting out a lot of different videos, and then I think her focus recently she's been really focused on Diablo Canyon, right, and Twitter, but I eclipsed Isabel, but there are at least two other creators out there that I know of that are nuclear creators that they were able to eclipse me. One of them very quickly was able to eclipse me, I guess younger and better looking, so I don't know if she was able to really quickly put out those videos and get a good following. But yeah, I'm not the top one. There's two great ones on there, and I think they came in around the same time I did. The one that's the top one, I think, came in a little after me, but it's very interesting phenomena. We all kind of came into this sphere together.
Okay. Yeah,
so.
I'm sure it's a turbulent environment too, with things can change so rapidly.
Yeah, and I probably could have kept that following going, kept getting more and more followers, but there was a point in time where it just got very taxing to try to keep up, and there's certain things that you need to do on TikTok to keep your following increasing more and more. So I kind of slowed down a little bit on that.
Could you talk about some of your most viewed videos?
Yeah, it is. The TikTok algorithm is so it's so weird, and I still haven't figured it out. Every once in a while, I know that, you know what, I'm going to put this video out, and I bet you it's going to get some good views, and it will. Other times I think, oh yeah, this is going to get some good views, and then it doesn't. So I don't know. It's weird. So the ones that I've gotten good views on, though, one was on transportation of nuclear waste. I have posted that video 3 times now. And the reason why I do that is because one of the things you can do as a creator is repost, and some creators recommend doing it, and I would recommend doing it if you have a good successful video. And I've gotten at least over 350,000 views for 2 of the times that I posted it, and I just recently posted it again. And I think I'm up to 175,000 on it. So it gets a lot of good views.
So does the website allow you to do like some informatics or just figure out what age group or demographic is most receptive to your videos?
I can't remember if it allows for age group. It definitely, like, one of the first things that it shows you is like the which, when it comes to like male or female, what does your followers, what do your followers look like? It is, I would say, mostly male followers that I have. And it's very interesting though, what happened when the recent Ukraine stuff started happening and I started putting out a lot of videos about Ukraine. All of the sudden, most of the new followers, a vast majority of them, were female, which I can't tell you why, but it does allow you to kind of break it down. I couldn't tell you on age group though.
So do you think, like, from what you've seen, would you say that the information you put out there might be people's first exposures to the topics you cover?
I think so. Absolutely. Especially with a lot of the questions that I get. A lot of them like, oh, I've made many videos on this. You must like, you must not have watched any of them, but I would say so. Either that, maybe not first exposure, because maybe they're exposed to it in the media or popular media, you know, and what they know about it is basically a very high level, and they really don't know the truth about some of this stuff, and they just only know some of the fear.
It's like they're coming from The Simpsons and have never actually seen what a nuclear waste cask looks like, and still thinking it's the oil drum with the green goo.
Yep.
So
exactly. So I think that's the reason why that video that I talked about that was really popular became so popular, because it really went against what people thought was nuclear waste. Right?
I bet you probably get a lot of people's eyes lighting up when you talk about energy density, I bet. Yeah,
that was another one of my good videos. I did a video on energy density. I've thought about reposting it. I might, but in that video, I had a little thing saying, hey, like, so I showed a uranium pellet. I said, this is a uranium pellet. And it was like this little, mock uranium pellet. And I said, basically spit out all the facts about energy density. And, but I had a little blurb on the bottom that says, if you want one of these uranium pellets, become one of my Patreons and I'll send you one. But I've changed my Patreon to where I think if you are a certain level, I might send it to you. I can't remember. I had trouble keeping up.
Didn't you make them with like your 3D printer to give to people?
Mm-hmm. Yep. 3D printed them and then painted them by hand because I put little fast facts on it. It says like uranium, that has like a uranium symbol, chemical symbol, equals, and then it had the whole 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas, ton of coal, 3 barrels of oil on it, and that little text on. I mean, uranium pellet's so tiny, you have to. So what I would do is I'd fill it in with paint. And I actually had my son helping me out. I should just do it again just because it's a enjoyable thing for him to do and it's nice and calming for him.
That physical representation really helps get people interested.
I need to find myself just a big pile of coal that I can just stand next to with like that little pellet, like zoom in, like this is uranium pellet, and then you zoom out, and like this is how much coal.
Right.
Do any of your safety jobs bring you near coal piles with all that radiation safety?
Yeah, I might. There are some opportunities I might have with my job, because there's at least one coal plant that I know is close by one of the places that I might frequent. And you can actually measure the radiation level coming off their fly ash.
Yeah.
From pretty good distance.
There's a lot of isotopes coming out of those smokestacks.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Do you think like being on social media, I think you mentioned you're filling in this void on the platform, but you also might be filling like a larger cultural void. Because like, would you think that education on nuclear subjects is lacking in like the typical high school curriculum?
Absolutely. And I've been talking about it for a long time. I think that I feel like that's a next step for me eventually, is to try to bring it into like the high school curriculum. And this is something I've been thinking about for many, many years. How I didn't get to learn about it in high school. Like I remember, maybe if you flip back to the back of the chemistry book, the AP chemistry book, you could find some stuff on it. And my chemistry teacher, who knew I was going into the nuclear Navy, was like, "Hey, like it's the end of the year. Let's fast forward to this just to kind of give you a little preview of what you're about to get into." But I really do think it's lacking, and I don't know what to do about that, but I want to maybe work with my own local high school to bring education there. And then I've also had some family and friends who are like, "Hey, like I want you to talk to my students." In fact, my cousin wants me to. We've been trying to set it up for a long time here, but we've been struggling trying to pick up a time, because it's not part of that curriculum. And so they're like, we have to do it at the end of the year if I can find time.
Yeah.
So
just from the people I've talked to anecdotally, I think it might be like a location thing, because I'll talk to some people and they'll be like, yeah, nuclear energy was never mentioned anytime in my high school curriculum. And some people were like, oh yeah, there's a nuclear power plant a town over. We'd go on field trips there every year. Like I know, and they'd know plenty about it. Mm-hmm. So it might be one of those location limitation things. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why my cousin, they're trying to get me, like, they live in Colorado, so that's like a desert when it comes to like anybody who knows anything about nuclear
territory.
Can confirm.
But they really want me to talk to it, so I might have to do like a remote thing, like a Zoom thing. We were planning on doing it during COVID, and everything was remote then, so it just made sense. But now there's a little more of that availability of like, oh yeah, this is normal. Doing remote presentations is normal.
It's really interesting. In high school, I kind of became friends with a science teacher that I never had a class with him, but he used to basically babysit my service dog while my other science teacher was allergic to it. Mm-hmm. He invited me to come speak to his AP environmental science class a few times. You know, stuff like that's really important, and it's just a shame there's not. Mm-hmm. There's just so much people don't know about it, you know?
Mm-hmm. We almost have to just be like, make ourselves available and just know people who are in education that are interested and want you to talk.
Well, in the age of social media and video sharing sites, there's always a risk of unchecked misinformation spreading. How bad would you say the media ecosystem is when it comes to nuclear disinformation?
I mean, yeah, I feel like definitely in the media, nuclear disinformation and misinformation abounds. And a lot of times it's because it just people have this whole thought about nuclear, and they can say things and everyone can just, nod their head and like, oh yeah, that sounds right. Like, yeah, nuclear, like that's the worst it gets, right? The word radiation, that's terrible. And I think people just think that it's just matter of fact,
Right.
And nobody really questions it. So it's really easy for the media to say these things, to say that, oh, there might be a nuclear accident and we might lose the continent of Europe. Like, no, that's not the way it works. And that right there is absolute misinformation that might have been planted there via disinformation from people who don't like nuclear power and go on to these news sites, and the news trusts some of these people to as experts that are not experts, that are spreading disinformation that really just confounds the misconceptions that are already out there. So absolutely, it's terrible.
More specifically on TikTok, though, have you had to deal with a lot of misinformation there, or has it actually been pretty tame compared to other medias?
Surprisingly, has been fairly tame, and which is kind of nice. There's every once in a while, there's videos that crop up there that I get tagged in that I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so much misinformation right now. And then it hurts me on the inside a little bit, because I feel kind of like stressed of like, oh man, I need to address this now. But I'm busy right now. I can't make another video. So it's not bad though. And what's really great is that since I've become friends with a lot more science creators and people who are interested in learning about science, I feel like I've changed a lot of minds there, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, you want to know more information about radiation? Like when people maybe ask questions in their comment section about nuclear radiation, they point their followers to me to understand it. So I feel like I've kind of wedged myself in there. And there's a few other creators who have also who are also tagged in those sort of situations. But it's not too bad on TikTok, even though TikTok does have a lot of other misinformation out there about other subjects. The nuclear misinformation, surprisingly, it's way worse on other platforms like Twitter.
Right. Well, I think also on TikTok, it allows you to play a clip of some misinformation and then in the very same video, quickly talk about it and be like, no, actually, if you look at the data, and it's conducive to being able to check a claim like immediately in the same short video. Do you think in general, the correct information, at least on TikTok, is winning out over the falsehoods when it comes to nuclear?
I would say there's absolutely a shift in the mindset of a lot of people. If you try getting on TikTok and make a video, even if it's just like a video about energy, or nuclear or anything like that, you will get a lot of people in your comment section that are actually pro-nuclear. And great news, that there's I could see the shift there. When it comes to like correct information, sometimes it's even some of the information that some of the people are saying who are trying to be pro-nuclear. It's like, that's not correct. Like, I applaud you at trying to be pro-nuclear, and but yeah, so it's hard to correct all of the misinformation out there. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
I guess maybe like the anti-nuclear position it seems to be pretty. Does that seem to be pretty not extreme?
I would say so. Yeah, on TikTok specifically, and there is a problem with me saying this though, because TikTok curates your feed for me. right? And if it's trying to do that, and I'm seeing all these people are being pro-nuclear and whatnot, it can create a little bit of a false sense of it. But I still, even with that, I still feel that they're on TikTok, things are not too bad. And the reason why I say that is because most of the people who I am following are mostly just like science creators and stuff, very general science creators. And I get to hear about, they're not focused on nuclear. And I guess they're not saying anything bad about nuclear either. So I do feel like on TikTok, it's
and there is the curiosity where it's like, yes, social media can create echo chambers, but I guess depending on the platform, and I don't know too much about how TikTok manages its algorithm, but I definitely see how on Facebook and Twitter, they're sort of going after engagement, and engagement can also mean, disagreeing and arguing with people. So sometimes the curation is actually showing you stuff you disagree with, so you'll respond to it and try to like start an argument with somebody. So I don't know if TikTok is different, or if we really, if there is really a pro-nuclear dominance on that platform.
I do know there's been times that I have been piled with a lot of comments on one of my videos before. And it's when I brought up the energy or electricity map. And I pointed at the fact that basically, I think people have the misconception that Europe has like a whole bunch of wind power, and they were doing really well on clean energy. And I pointed at, well, these countries are doing well at clean energy. Let's see what they're using. And I had a lot of people kind of dogpile on that, that were not very happy with me saying that. So I have been able to stumble upon those.
Okay, so
and that's actually one of my highest viewed ones.
So there you go. Yeah. So you've gotten pushback over that, and it is funny because grid data, I think, when it comes to actually communicating this, and electricitymap.org does such a good job, showing you the visual map, showing you the graph, and like color coding everything from carbon intensity to the energy source when you're looking at the like per country and region data, and. Yeah, it will show you like how much capacity, like, Germany has a combined solar and wind capacity of over 100 gigawatts, but it also shows you how much of that is producing, in real time or in the last 24 hours. And when people see that, when you can show people, hey, yeah, more capacity is not going to solve this problem if it's only running at 5%. That's a very like powerful visual, direct, real world form of evidence that is very hard to come back to if you're anti-nuclear. And so I can see why you might have gotten a lot of people riled up over that. Yeah.
And one of the big things that people got riled up about, and this actually, by the way, this video was a very critical video actually in my TikTok career. If you want to call it that. People were like, well, you're cherry picking, you're picking out certain periods or certain time periods where they're just not producing very much solar, not producing much wind. And if they were to look at my video and see that I wrote, like I had little captions on there, and maybe that wasn't enough, I guess. It says like, this is just one time period, but if you look at them over time, this is pretty typical of a pretty typical day, but that wasn't good enough. And unfortunately, when I first made that video, an electricity map only allowed you to do a specific time of the day. It didn't allow you to do, over a month or a year, but now it does years and months, right? I think it actually lets you do a little slider, and you can actually say like, okay, this is what they looked this month, or this is where was their average over a month, and this is their average over the previous months. So now they have the tools, and I think the time is ripe for me to make another video.
Yeah, before I used to have to go to like Fraunhofer, like these different data sources to get monthly and yearly data for different European countries.
So yeah, now Electricity Map does it for you. I think if you did like a premium beforehand, you could get
a paywall.
It. Yeah.
Well, let's explain to the listeners what Electricity Map shows, because it's a very important tool if you're a nuclear advocate.
Oh yeah. And I can explain it just by talking about the video I made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my video, I'm like, I stitched another guy who's like, he made a funny video, and in this video, he's like, kind of doing a United States versus Europe thing, which I hate those videos, but and then he talks like in kind of a European accent. I think it might have been French, or I can't remember. And then for when he's speaking as if he's Europe, and then he speaks in an American accent as when he was American. But in one of his things where he was speaking in an American or a European accent, he said, well, my power is, or my electricity is powered by wind power, or all wind power. And so I stitched like that specific section, and I knew it was a joke, and I thought everyone else would know it was a joke as well, but apparently not. And I'm like, so is Europe 100% powered by wind power? Let's go ahead and look at Electricity Map. And Electricity Map, great thing is, you can show basically a map and it shows colors, and those colors are tell you how clean of energy the specific countries on the map have. You can choose France, Germany, UK, all these different countries, and they show a different color. The more brown they are, or even closer to like dark brown into black, the more carbon intensity they have, more carbon emissions, dirtier energy. And then the cleaner it gets, the less carbon emissions. It goes to like yellow, and then to yellow green, and then green. Green is clean, and I explained this actually all in my video too. And like, so let's look at all these countries. Well, like, first off, when you look at this whole map, it's definitely not all green. But let's look at, I think I showed like Germany, and I'm like, this is actually, I think I saved Germany for last, but it doesn't matter. But let's look at the green ones first. And I showed all the green ones. I showed Sweden, I showed Finland, France, and then I showed like, hey, they're hydro and nuclear. All these places that are green are either hydro or nuclear. And then I pointed at Germany, and like, ooh, they're really brown. They're supposed to be the clean energy mecca, right? Or the place, the people who are really on clean energy, right? But they are way behind. I think that really pissed people off, honestly, when I brought that up. I'm like, they are not doing good at all. They have very dirty energy. And I talked about how they were getting rid of nuclear. And if they would have just kept nuclear and did whatever they want, or with renewables, they would have been way cleaner. And people really didn't like that. And I really wish I could have been I only had 1 minute to make the freaking video. I wish I could have put a little more information in there, like bring it up over time. Like, I was just so limited.
You got to start making like they do Twitter threads, or someone has to make like 30 tweets just to explain something and like numbering it. Yeah. So it's one way to pump out more videos, I guess.
And you can kind of do that on TikTok. You can do like a part 1, a part 2. It doesn't really work out that great when you do that. The good thing about doing part 1, part 2 is if you have a big subject that you're talking about, and that subject is large enough to where you could split it up into multiple videos, and maybe one part of that subject is going to blow up. And that's actually happened with me recently. I was talking about a guy who was spreading misinformation about the Zaporizhzhia plant in Ukraine. And I broke down his video like clip by clip, and just said like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Except for I did it in a very respectful way. And I split it into 2 parts. And the first one was basically just about Zaporizhzhia in general, how it's not Chernobyl.
Right.
And then, yeah, that was the first part of the video. The second part of the video I did, he, at the very end of his video, he talked about how they're handing out potassium iodide. Potassium iodide is basically just anti-radiation pills, and it's Radaway. And I replied to that part explaining what was potassium iodide and what is potassium iodide used for and how it's not anti-radiation pills. And I broke up that specific part of my video and made that a part 2. That thing is probably going to get 200,000 or 300,000 views. Right now, it's going nuts. I think that's because of what Putin has said recently.
And that's also important too, because when it comes to that's like a level of medical misinformation, because that can get dangerous if people are taking it and they don't need to, or they're taking it in doses way above, so that's important that you're debunking and explaining that.
Yep, I think it's super key, and that's actually another reason why I decided to break it out. I actually had Ian Prado. We were talking together. We were going out, and I showed him the video. He's like, "You should absolutely break out that potassium iodide one, because not only would that probably go viral, but that is important information." And I'm like, "You're right. This is important information. I want to get it out there," and I'm glad.
I was going to ask. You talked a little bit about the pushback, maybe against like your correct thoughts on the iodide pills, and about Germany being a powerhouse. Are there any other things that people like to disagree with you on?
Jeez. I'm sure there is.
Do you get a lot of fusion people? Fusion bros?
So I get a lot of thorium bros. And I have actually answered back to that. I think I crushed some
dreams.
Hopes, dreams, but I wasn't trying to. On Fusion, I have not made a video yet, and I have had people asking me about Fusion. They're not really saying like, "Oh, Fusion's the only way" type of thing. Usually, it's in the context of we need nuclear until we get to fusion type of thing. I guess nuclear to get to a different type of nuclear. But, So a lot of times when I make a video, I will think about it for a long time. And this is fusion is one of the things that I have gotten very close to making a video. And I think I even recorded something. And then I just was like, no, I still need to think about this more, because I'm not a fusion researcher and I don't want to get things wrong. And so with those sort of topics, I will think about it for a really long time. So eventually I'll come out with my fusion video when I feel a little more confident.
I have encountered a lot of thorium fans, and the first thing I find myself saying is, like everything you've been led to believe as an advantage of thorium reactors, advanced uranium reactors can effectively bring the same advantages. Like people assume molten salt reactors mean thorium, and and I was like, actually, you can have uranium-based molten salt reactors, and you can also have thorium-based rod reactors. Like the CANDU can run a fuel cycle with thorium. They don't do it because there's a reduced efficiency, but they can do that if they need to. Yep. And so it's sort of like if they're already on board with nuclear due to those advantages, they should be thrilled to find out, oh, actually, there's a place for uranium in the future anyway. So that's...
It sounds like you wrote my video that I made on
it. We've had these conversations before. But yeah, it's a common one. So the other thing, I think, one thing I encounter a lot where we have a lot of people who legitimately believe Europe runs on, wind power or something. you see these headlines that, of course, the headlines are also cherry picking, like down to the minute, where they'll say like, for the first time in history, the UK is running on 100% wind energy. And, you read the details and it's for like literally 2 minutes in April, like during like the windiest, like in abnormally windy, every single variable leading to that headline is like just perfect, but they, leave out all the stuff that they, shows the reality of it. And people see the headline and think, okay, the UK, we've made it. Like we're 100% wind powered now. And like, they don't think beyond that. So when they see the real grid data and they see, actually, like this is what the real world is, that might, jostle their conception of the world.
You're mentioning a video that I haven't done yet, and I need to do it. And I need to do it. And I don't know why I haven't done it. Like, cause it's not something I have to think about much. It's like, no, it was like a couple minutes. Like
we're thinking of the same set of headlines too.
I need to make that. Yes. And the thing is, like, I feel like one of that's like the type that I need to respond to quickly because it's always a headline, right? And when it comes to headlines, you need to get on the ball right away. And I don't think I've, maybe that's the reason why I've not done it, because I usually have just, I don't know, been busy or something.
Well,
when the headline comes
we
out.
are in low demand September. So maybe if we get like a really windy 2 minutes at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, like we'll see new headlines like that again.
Yeah. I'll look for it and I'll see if I can make it.
So do you think, like you did mention that, TikTok gives you 1 minute to make they limit you to 1 minute video. Do you think there's like other sort of limitations that are built into the design of the platform that kind of hinders your ability to effectively like educate others or deliver what you want to deliver?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people have struggled when it comes in science talk or science TikTok. They've struggled a lot because the people who are spreading misinformation generally get a lot of views. There's like incentives to spread misinformation on TikTok. I think that's one big issue with TikTok. I think another thing is they don't really pay their creators very well. They pay them pennies basically. So I think that's a huge issue, and it requires creators to say, or to try to do things off of TikTok, right? And then try to talk to their TikTok audience and tell them, hey, like TikTok's really not really helping me out here. Come over to this, what's it called? Platform and follow me there, or go to my Patreon or whatever. And TikTok does not like that. And they look for those things that you're saying, and they will not allow those videos to go viral. They really try to squash that down. They hate it when you leave the platform, like anything that points them away from the platform. And they won't let you put links. If you put a link, they will remove the comment.
Wow.
Like
probably because there's so much spam.
So yeah. I mean, spam could be an issue, but I really don't think so. Because and I say you can't put links. That's for the comment sections. You can put links in your bios. So like if you have a bio, you can put a link in there, but it won't let you open it in a different browser. It forces you. You have to use the TikTok browser. It will not let you get
they're taking
out
every
of the browser.
data point from you. When
it
you
won't
do
let
that.
you copy and paste or anything.
So they're taking every data point on everything you do in their browser too.
Yes, exactly. So what I've done to get around that is in all of my videos, because I want to put sources out there. Like, hey, I'm trying to speak facts, and I want you to know that it's backed by sources. So I can't put it in my comment section because it's going to get deleted. I can't put it in my bio because there's people that have been banned actually for doing that, for trying to put it's just stupid. But anyways, so what I do is I put a QR code in my videos, so that it's a little cumbersome, but at least it's there. And if you try hard, you can take a screenshot and go to that QR code. So
that's a good way to overcome that limitation. Just
yeah.
So social media provides a platform for open public discussion and debate with high visibility. Do you have any examples of high-profile debates you were involved with?
So high profile,
have you been blocked on Twitter?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I have. Thank you. I'm remembering now. Yes. Ed Lyman, Union of Concerned Scientists, not to call somebody out by name, but on Twitter, I had one interaction with him where basically it was an IAEA update on what was going on in Ukraine and what was going on at the Zaporizhzhia plant. And he replied to that update saying something along the lines of that basically it's not going to be safe for much longer type of thing. And that really upset me, especially in the field that I work in when it comes to radiological emergency response. You do not say things like that. You don't, especially when you don't know. And I knew he didn't know. All he was doing was trying to bring fear and anxiety and oh man, I'm getting riled up even thinking about it. It hurts people. It harms people when you are spreading fear, when everybody else is out there and they're scared because they're hearing the word nuclear plant or the words nuclear plant and being shelled. They're already kind of high anxiety, and you start saying oh, it's not going to be safe for much longer. You're working against us here, and you're increasing people's anxiety. And this is when it comes to, I'm now getting into my job a little bit here, but when it comes to radiological emergency response, the biggest danger is the fear that people have, and the anxiety that people have. We saw it in Fukushima, we saw it in 3 Mile Island, and we even saw it in Chernobyl. It is an amplifier of harm, and so he did that. I replied back to him. I basically said exactly what I just told you, and said you cannot be spreading this kind of fear. You're working against us here. And he replied back, and he started talking about stuff that even nuclear engineers would have to be okay, let me look this up, because there's something that he knew that he dug into on fuel and what's it called, ramping up and down power, and he's just saying basically mumbo jumbo when it comes to the common day person knowing things just to make it look like he knew a lot.
Right.
But again, that goes against what you do during a radiological emergency or a nuclear emergency. You don't start to spitting information to look smart that nobody's going to understand. And all it did was make people more fearful again. And of course, after that interaction, he blocked me. So, so I made a video about it.
Well, I was just going to say whenever there is an emergency, the last thing you want to do is cause people to panic, and that's exactly what he wanted to do, and that causes so much destruction and just turmoil that it's irresponsible, and it's good that you called him out on it.
Yeah. And basically it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and that's what my video was all about. It's this is FUD, and then I I put in videos of Bill Nye and Machio.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, saying curse words here.
Right. Just the Michio Kaku. It's like the people that were on the 3 Mile Island documentary. If you want to call it a documentary, more like. I mean, I watched literally like 15 minutes of that, and I got bored because I knew it was just they weren't saying anything. It was just words coming out of people that's, wanting to sound super important.
They were just talking about their feelings most of the time and how afraid they were, but the actual facts of the situation was like either brushed over or exaggerated or entirely misinformed.
And that works, right? Like when you get onto people's feelings, like damn the facts, like
if it's compelling, that's what's gonna like move people and create the compelling narrative that like gets more views. So like in the world of media and social media, like that's again why effective and factual science communication is so important to like combat compelling misinformation. And so like would you have any advice for anyone seeking to improve their science communication skills?
Yeah. So I think definitely reading some books out there that are available and following some people who are good communicators. And that's what I've done. But a big thing is just getting out there and doing it, practicing. When I first started on TikTok, I just started putting together videos. They weren't all that great in my opinion, but and just honed my communication skills. And that, along with reading some of these books out there, really helped me out. And you could see if you go back and like my first videos on TikTok and my first video I put out on YouTube, they were not that great. Even though I think my first video has the most views out of any of them on my on YouTube platform, but yeah, just record yourself, put things out there, and don't be afraid to not do it right. Just learn from your mistakes and practice. I think another thing that, like I mentioned the books, there's a lot of good books out there. One that I really recommend is, I think it's called Influence is the name of the book. And it goes into kind of the different levers of influence that you can have, that you can pull to have a good influence on people. And I think one of the things he talks about, he actually mentions, he's like, hey, science creators, you need to do this specifically. So it has a lot of really good information on how to influence people. And let's see, I think one of the things that I really learned from it, and I realized, like, wait a minute, I kind of already know this, is you can't just come in to, when somebody's spreading misinformation, you can't come in to them and just tell them they're wrong and spit a bunch of facts at them. You can't just come in swinging if you're intending on changing their mind specifically, right? And you have to kind of come at it from their perspective, and you've probably heard the term like steel manning.
Yep.
Right. Kind of the opposite of straw man. You explain to them kind of their point of view, and you don't get it wrong. You lay it out there, and you give them the best representation you can of their argument. But then you kind of come in with the reason why it might be wrong. Another tactic that you can do is, they call this like a retreat and then you move forward with your argument, and it's not a real retreat. You basically point out what was in their argument that was actually factual. You say things that sound like it kind of is going counter your argument, but you're sticking to the facts, right? Like, for example, people might tell you, like, well, wind and solar, that is way cheaper than nuclear power. We should just be using wind and solar. And I made a video that's like, hey, wind and solar, the levelized cost of energy for wind and solar has dramatically dropped over time, and it's been insane how quickly it's dropped. And if you look at the levelized costs and the Energy Information Administration and the Lazard tables, they do look like it is lower than nuclear power. So basically, you're putting out there these facts, like you're acknowledging these facts. But then in my video, I go into like, and this is why this is not actually 100% accurate here, and how you know the whole spiel, how it doesn't take into account your what's it called, energy storage, and the fact that if you build too much wind and too much solar, you start actually reducing in value of that wind and solar on the grid, and you're flooding the grid, like all that stuff. But you kind of start out sounding like you're kind of retreating, and then you're bringing in your argument, and that really wins over people's trust. That you are, in fact, coming at this with good intent, and that you can be a trustworthy individual.
Right, because you can't just not give them anything. Like, someone has to win, even if they're quite wrong on a lot of it. You have to let them feel like they win a little bit, because no one likes to be told that they're just completely and utterly wrong. Which it's
no, they don't.
Information. I mean, it's a tactic I need to make sure I remember, because sometimes I become like, the problem is with like Twitter and stuff, it turns you into a snarky asshole, and I like have to learn to like keep that devil side of me like quiet, so.
And Twitter's good
Twitter's
at that,
awful,
right?
yeah.
At turning, right? Like, because you win a lot of points, right? When you come up with a good snark, you get a lot of shares, views, likes.
The clapback,
yeah. It incentivizes
I was going to ask you, knowing what you know and using all these tools, the endeavor of being a science communicator on TikTok is really helping change the tide in public acceptance of nuclear power?
I think it is. I think it absolutely is. I have had people come to me and tell me that, like, hey, like, because of your videos, I have completely changed my mind. And these aren't just people who just watch videos. These are people who create videos, who have had complete change of minds. And I've been on their lives before. They'll invite me on their lives. So on TikTok, you can, go live kind of like on other platforms, and they'll tell me that. They're like, yeah, like, because of you, like, I had this, or I had this misconstrued understanding of nuclear, and now being on or seeing your videos, I realized that I was completely wrong. So I think TikTok is making a difference, at least for the people who are on TikTok. And I think Isabel had a huge influence. I think she's continuing to have a big influence. And what's interesting is that people still kind of refer to her as just being a TikToker. And I've seen specific people, Ed Lyman, using it as kind of a insult to say, "Oh, a popular TikToker is the reason why we're talking about Diablo Canyon again." Like, and trying to use it as they're just a TikToker type of thing. But I think she's way more than that, and she's making an influence even beyond TikTok, way beyond TikTok. I mean, she just had her TED Talk, which is freaking amazing. But she started out on TikTok, so I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the answer is yes.
Well, like you mentioned before, there is also kind of that clean slate thing where a lot of the career anti-nukes are just not on TikTok yet, and maybe they might not be, because TikTok is really kind of for younger people. And I think it's screening out some of the hardcore anti-nuclear boomers and giving you a place to finally have a platform that's, not completely drowned out by bullshit. Even though social media is a lot of times it can be bullshit. But one more question I was going to ask is, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you started on TikTok?
That's a really good question. I mean, I feel like I almost need to I almost need to flip that question, like I almost need my old self to kind of talk to my new self and say, hey, like, give myself a pep talk from my past, or my past self needs to give me a pep talk. I know that's not exactly answering your question, but lately I've been really focusing on the quality of my videos, which I enjoy putting out really good quality videos that have good audio and really good lighting and everything. But I think if I went back and talked to my previous self would tell me, like, hey, stop worrying about that. Just put out good messages and learn from those things that your successes in the past in order to create those new successes. So I think my past self would have a better message for me.
Right.
Than what I know now.
Still insightful though.
Yeah. Maybe I'd tell myself, my past self, like, hey, like, you're gonna eventually think that you just need to get bogged down in the quality of your videos, which I enjoy doing it. So I think there's value in that. But
just wear your heart on your sleeve, man.
Well, those are all the questions we prepared for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add before you go?
Oh boy. Well, I love talking about this, and I hope that some other people might be willing to kind of join me on TikTok. It is a lot of work for just one person to try to carry the message. So if others could come and join me on TikTok, that would be great. I would love to collaborate with people.
I would totally do more on TikTok, but just with my disability, it's kind of hard to do all the cameras and stuff. But yeah, definitely. Anybody who's listening to this, consider making videos too on TikTok.
Yeah, I think one of the things on that as well, I've tried to help build some of the culture when it comes to the creators on nuclear TikTok, where we're nice and we're trying to educate people, and because I don't want it to turn into Twitter, but I think maybe something about TikTok makes it to where when you're putting your face out there, you're a little more of a I'm putting myself out there. I need to maybe be a little nicer. So
right.
Yeah, I think in that book Influence you mentioned, if we're thinking of the same book, they talk about how at hotel concierge desks they'll put the mirror behind the hotel staff, so because people can see their face, and it'll discourage on a subconscious level, discourage getting angry or losing your temper or being mean to the staff.
Because if some people can hear themselves, they're like, okay, that was very cringy.
Yeah, or just look in the mirror type of thing. So But yeah, so if people were to hop on TikTok and find your content, like what's your handle? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so the Rad Guy was taken. So I am at the Rad Guy Glows. And on Twitter, I am at that Rad Guy 5. Originally, I was going to call myself that Rad Guy, right. But then a friend of mine's like, "Hey, you should be the Rad Guy," kind of like the bad guy, because that song was kind of popular at that time.
Okay.
But and then if you just look me up on YouTube, if you look up the Rad Guy, I should pop up pretty easily. You'll see my logo, and also on Facebook.
Hey DJ, thanks for joining us today and giving us a window into the person behind the Rad Guy.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show for us.
I was happy to be on this side of the conversation. Thanks for having me.
That was a fun conversation. I'm so glad DJ has had such wild success in his online advocacy for nuclear.
DJ is making waves by trailblazing nuclear advocacy on the new frontier of TikTok. It was interesting to discuss what goes on behind the scenes with the Rad Guy.
I definitely got some value in going over some tactics for pro-nuclear advocacy to persuade people that our ideas are good ones, especially the idea of starting on common ground in your rebuttal of the opposing viewpoint, so their position is being acknowledged and understood. This bridges a better pathway to correcting misinformation without the person feeling attacked or ignored. Just one of many tips and tricks for more effective communication that DJ brought to light.
And just having a presence on social media as nuclear advocates makes us all science communicators to varying degrees. So it's important to think about our own reach and how we can scale it to make a greater impact, in addition to improving our own nuclear knowledge base and communication skills within our own lives.
We want to again thank DJ for taking the time out of his busy schedule to talk to us today. We hope to see the Rad Guy's following grow exponentially. You can find him on TikTok with the handle The Rad Guy Glows. Thanks for listening.
If you like what you heard and want more content, you can support Americans for Nuclear Energy's Climate Fix podcast on a per-episode basis with Patreon. Link in the description. To support Americans for Nuclear Energy and our general mission, visit our website at www.americansfornuclearenergy.org. All words. Again, that's www.americansfornuclearenergy.org. We have a link to donate with PayPal under the Mobilize page. You can also purchase some Americans for Nuclear Energy swag under our store page. This will really help us pay for the little things, especially online service fees, to keep our organization running. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Lastly, we really want your feedback. Let us know your thoughts, questions, and concerns. We have a message form on our website under the About section, or you can email us directly at main@americansfornuclearenergy.org. All words. Again, that's main@americansfornuclearenergy.org. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Americans for Nuclear Energy's Climate Fix podcast. We'll see you next time.
Edited and produced by Jonna Adams.